You are here because you've always felt a certain weight to your existence, haven't you? It's not a burden in the traditional sense, but more like a profound significance that follows you into every room you enter. You are what many call a chosen one, someone whose spirit doesn't just exist in the world, but actively interacts with the unseen layers of reality. When you walk into a space, the atmosphere shifts, even if no one says a word. You might have noticed that people react to you differently. Some are drawn to your light, while others seem inexplicably agitated by your presence. This is because your energy moves things that most people aren't even aware exist. Your life isn't a series of random accidents, it is a carefully orchestrated assignment. Because your calling is so specific and your impact so great, the rules for your life are different from everyone else's. Because you carry this internal weight, you must understand that what is harmless for the average person can be incredibly dangerous for you. Most people live life on the surface, unaware of the spiritual currents flowing beneath their daily interactions. They can be careless, messy, or spiritually loud, without feeling the immediate repercussions. But you are different. You walk with a divine calling, and that makes you a person of interest in the spiritual realm. Forces that seek to disrupt your peace don't usually come at you with a frontal assault because they know you'd recognize a direct attack. Instead, they observe you. They study your habits, your deep compassion for others, and those moments of quiet kindness where you might be prone to letting your guard down. They wait for a small, seemingly innocent opening to enter your life and drain your strength. This subtle strategy is exactly why today's message is so vital for your current season. You are about to discover 3 specific things you should never lend to anyone, not because you are becoming a cold or selfish person, but because you are waking up to the reality of your spiritual stewardship. Protection is not an act of hostility. It is a core part of your assignment as a chosen one. If you don't guard the gates of your life, you cannot fulfill the purpose for which you were sent. Pay very close attention, because the 3rd item on this list is something that almost everyone overlooks, including people who consider themselves highly spiritually aware. This one oversight is responsible for a massive amount of silent damage and unexplained exhaustion in the lives of many gifted individuals who simply didn't know the door was open. If you can feel the truth of these words vibrating in your spirit right now, I want you to take a brief moment to align yourself with this revelation. Pause for a second and press the like button as a physical sign that you are in agreement with this message of protection. If you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel so you can stay connected to this stream of insight that is designed to keep you sharp and spiritually fortified. Also, I want you to go down to the comments and type the number 99. In spiritual terms, 99 represents the final stage of completion before a major transition. It is the moment of pause right before you are elevated to a new level of authority. By writing it, you are making a declaration that the things which have been draining your energy stop right here, and your new season of protected power begins now. The first thing you should never lend to anyone, no matter how much society tells you it's a normal gesture of hospitality, is your pillow. On the surface, this sounds almost silly or overly superstitious, doesn't it? It's just a piece of fabric and foam, but that is exactly why the enemy loves to use it as a point of entry. The most effective spiritual traps are never labeled as threats. They are disguised as mundane, everyday objects. Your pillow is far more than a place to rest your head. It is a silent vessel that witnesses your most private and vulnerable moments. It is the one object that stays in constant contact with you when your physical defenses are completely down, when your body is paralyzed in sleep, and when your spirit begins to loosen its grip on the material world. Every single night, your pillow acts as a spiritual sponge. As you drift off, it absorbs the rhythm of your breath as it slows down, the unraveling of your complex thoughts, and the final settling of your worries before sleep takes over. It holds the invisible weight of the prayers you whisper in the dark and the tears you might wipe away when no one is watching. It records the fears you would never admit to your friends or family during the daylight hours. Most people don't realize that sleep is not a neutral state of nothingness. It is a passage between worlds. When you are asleep, your conscious mind steps aside, and your inner world becomes highly accessible to spiritual influences. This is why you often find clarity in dreams, or receive warnings in symbolic ways while you rest. Because your pillow sits at the direct intersection of your physical mind and your spiritual essence during this vulnerable state. It becomes imprinted with your unique energetic signature. It learns your tension, your release, and your spiritual frequency. Now, imagine what happens when you allow someone else to place their head on that same surface. You aren't just sharing a household item. You are allowing another person's inner world to overlap with yours. You are inviting their unresolved traumas, their emotional residue, and their current spiritual state to mingle with the imprint you've left behind. The danger isn't always some overt darkness. Often, it's just a foreign heaviness or a restlessness that isn't yours, which then begins to leak into your own subconscious mind while you sleep. As a chosen one, you feel this interference much more intensely than others because your inner world is already highly active and sensitive. For you, sensitivity isn't a personality flaw. It's a primary function of your design. You were created to perceive layers of reality that others simply graze over. This is why something as seemingly insignificant as a shared pillow can lead to days of mental fog, strange dreams that don't feel like your own, or a sudden, unexplained sense of anxiety. Many people in your position notice these patterns but fail to connect the dots. They host a guest or travel and sleep on used bedding, and suddenly their peace is diluted. They blame the stress of work or physical exhaustion, never realizing that the disruption is actually spiritual interference that entered through an open door. The key to your protection is realizing that spiritual interference rarely announces its arrival with a loud bang. It prefers to blend into the background of your life. Being protective of your space isn't about being a fighter. All the time, it's often about simply refusing to open the door in the first place. You must learn to exercise discernment even in your acts of kindness. You can offer a guest a comfortable place to stay without giving them access to the specific items that carry your personal spiritual imprint. A pillow is an intimate object, energetically informed by your private life. Once that boundary is crossed, the effects can linger for a long time, echoing in your mind and settling in the quiet corners of your spirit where you least expect to find them. The second thing you must never lend to another person is anything that is directly connected to your faith or your spiritual practice. This is where the line between the physical world and the invisible realm becomes incredibly thin and potentially dangerous. To the average person, a prayer shawl, a specific book of scripture, a journal, or a set of prayer beads are just symbols, traditions, or sentimental objects. But for you, these items are not merely decorative. They are operational tools that participate in the movement of your life. When you engage in prayer or meditation, your words and intentions don't just vanish into thin air. They leave a residue, an energetic impression on the things you hold and touch during those moments of deep spiritual surrender. Over time, these objects become charged, not with some magical power, but with the frequency of your alignment with the divine. They hold the memory of your most desperate pleas, your moments of sincere repentance, and the faith you exercised when you were under immense pressure. This is why your personal spiritual tools feel different when you hold them compared to when someone else does. They have been shaped by your inner posture and your specific spiritual language. When you lend these items out, you aren't just sharing a physical material. You are providing a direct bridge to your spiritual walk. You are allowing another person's intentions, which may not be as pure as yours, to interact with a vessel that has been dedicated to your unique path. Intentions are far more powerful than outward actions. A person can look perfectly composed and clean on the outside while harboring deep-seated jealousy or resentment on the inside. Someone can speak beautifully about God and spirituality while still operating from a place of ego, manipulation, or intense spiritual hunger that lacks discipline. Sacred objects do not automatically neutralize the wrong intentions of the person holding them. In many cases, they actually amplify whatever energy touches them. This is why you must be a faithful steward of your spiritual armor. When someone else uses what carries your faith, they inevitably imprint it with their own emotional chaos and unresolved conflicts, which can muffle the clarity you usually find through that object. Have you ever lent something personal to a friend and noticed that when it came back it felt heavy, or just subtly wrong? It wasn't broken, but it felt less responsive to you. When you tried to return to your routine of prayer or reflection, the flow felt interrupted, as if there was static on the line. Many chosen ones experience this and immediately turn the blame inward. They think they've lost their fire, that they are becoming distracted, or that their faith is weakening. But the truth is that the shift didn't start inside of them. It was introduced through a sacred object that was shared without proper discernment. This sacred requires stewardship, and not everyone who asks for access to your life is spiritually prepared to handle what you carry. This isn't about judging people or feeling superior to them. It's about spiritual order. Spiritual tools work best when they are strictly aligned to a single assignment. When these items are passed around from person to person, their energetic clarity becomes blurred and mixed. The most dangerous form of contamination isn't necessarily pure evil, it is mixture. It's a little bit of belief mixed with a little bit of doubt, or a little bit of reverence mixed with a little bit of resentment. This mixture doesn't cause an immediate explosion, but it slowly dulls the edge of your spiritual discernment. A dull tool is dangerous because you don't realize it's failing you until you are in the middle of a critical moment where you need absolute clarity. You can be a light to others without handing them the very tools that sustain your own flame. You can guide people toward their own faith without giving away the armor you forged in your own personal battles. Often, the moments where you feel most exposed, unfocused, or disconnected from your purpose are not signs of personal failure, but signs that something you once held sacred has been displaced or contaminated. Once you realize that your spiritual peace is tied to the sanctity of your environment, you begin to see why certain boundaries are non-negotiable. This understanding leads us to the third realization, which is perhaps the most overlooked aspect of spiritual hygiene in our modern, fast-paced world. The third thing that you should never lend, the one that most people dismiss or underestimate, is clothing that touches your body regularly. This is particularly dangerous because it feels so incredibly normal in our culture to share clothes. We treat garments as neutral, replaceable commodities that carry no deeper meaning. But your physical body is not neutral. It is a vessel that carries your unique spiritual signature and frequency. Everything that stays in close, prolonged contact with your skin eventually learns that signature. Your clothes don't just cover you, they adapt to you. They absorb the physical and emotional weather of your life, your posture, your stress, your moments of joy, and your transitions through various emotional cycles. Think about the items you wear most often, the ones you reach for when you're tired, the ones you wear while you pray, or the jacket that stays with you through a difficult day at work. Those fabrics become witnesses to your journey. They register your emotional temperature and store the impressions of those times when you were at your strongest, as well as the moments when you were barely holding things together. When you lend these items to someone else, you are facilitating an overlap of spiritual fields. Your personal atmosphere meets theirs, and their current emotional state presses against the fabric that already carries yours. This isn't a simple swap. It's a layering process where their residue can become entangled with your energy. Chosen ones often experience sudden, inexplicable shifts in their mood after such an exchange. You might feel a heaviness that has no logical source, or a wave of sadness that doesn't belong to any event in your actual life. You might suffer from fatigue that a full night's sleep can't fix, or an irritation that feels foreign to your natural temperament. Because the human mind always looks for logical explanations, you'll likely blame your hormones, the weather, or your diet. However, for a chosen one, the cause is often the open door created by sharing something so intimately connected to your physical presence. Your body reacts to the unfamiliar frequency before your logical mind even realizes something is wrong. Because clothes sit directly against your skin, the largest organ of your body, they act as powerful conductors. They don't have a filter, they simply hold and trance for whatever energy is most present. When another person wears what has been close to you, their suppressed emotions and inner conflicts interact with the energetic memory of the garment. When the item is returned to you, it comes back altered. It's not necessarily cursed, but it is misaligned. This misalignment is enough to create static in your spiritual field, making it harder for you to hear your own intuition or feel the peace that usually guides your steps. It's a subtle disruption, but for someone on a high-stakes mission, even a small amount of static can be devastating. This pattern goes unnoticed by most people because the effects are often delayed. It doesn't usually hit you the moment you put the clothes back on. It waits until your guard is down or until you are in a situation where you need maximum clarity. Once you see this connection, however, you can't unsee it. You realize that what touches your body touches your spirit, and there is no neutral zone in your life. Everything is interconnected. If something as everyday as a t-shirt or a sweater can influence your spiritual state this deeply, then you must ask yourself, why are you so much more affected by this than the people around you seem to be? Why do they seem to lend things out and feel nothing while you feel everything? The reason you feel these shifts so intensely isn't because you are weak or crazy. It's because you operate on a completely different frequency than the average person. Think of it like a radio. A cheap receiver might only pick up the loudest, most local stations, but a finely tuned high-end instrument can pick up signals from across the world, including the subtle whispers between the music. Your spiritual system is a finely tuned receiver. You are built to detect changes, inconsistencies, and energetic shifts that others walk past every day without a second thought. This is a functional part of your design as a chosen one. It allows you to discern truth from lies and light from darkness, but it also means you are more susceptible to noise. The enemy knows that he doesn't need to create a massive catastrophe to derail you. He doesn't need drama or an obvious confrontation to keep you from your purpose. In fact, those things usually just wake you up and make you more determined. So, the strategy becomes one of micro-leaks. He tries to attach subtle interference to your normal, daily routines. He hides behind social expectations of niceness and generosity. He waits for those moments when you lower your guard because you think there's no reason to be on. This is the great misunderstanding many chosen ones face. They think protection only matters during a battle, when in reality, protection is most important during the peaceful times of preparation. You might feel tired before you know why, or off before you can name the feeling. Others can brush these sensations off because their inner systems aren't designed to process such complex, layered information. But you carry awareness even when it feels inconvenient. Being targeted in these subtle ways doesn't mean you are failing. It means you are relevant to the bigger picture. No one spends time strategizing against someone who isn't a threat. The shift towards subtlety is actually a testament to how much you've grown. You've survived the big attacks, so now the interference has to become quiet and polite to get past your defenses. It appeals to your desire to be a good person, while secretly undermining your stability. Generosity without discernment is a recipe for spiritual exhaustion. This doesn't mean you should stop being a giving person, but it means your giving must be tempered with wisdom. There is a massive difference between being available to help people and being exposed to their chaos. Many chosen ones confuse the two because they were taught that love means having no boundaries, but true love includes the responsibility of self-protection. If you allow yourself to be drained and disrupted by every small interaction, you won't have the strength to show up for the big assignments God has for you. Your clarity and peace are not luxuries you can afford to lose. They are requirements for your path. When your inner alignment is disrupted, your entire life feels heavier and noisier. This is why even the small things, like who uses your pillow or wears your clothes, actually matter. These small doors are enough to let in enough static to drown out the voice of your intuition. Once you understand this, the final layer of this message becomes unavoidable. You must move from a state of passive awareness to a state of active authority. Knowing why you are affected is only the first step. The real transformation happens when you decide what you are going to do with that knowledge to secure your future and protect the sacred calling on your life. Discernment is not a form of selfishness, though the people who want to use your energy will certainly try to tell you that it is. This misunderstanding has cost many chosen ones years of their lives, spent in unnecessary struggle and recovery from open doors they never should have allowed. You were never called to live in total isolation or to build walls out of fear. Isolation makes you brittle, and fear clouds your perception. Your path is much more refined. You are called to protect what is sacred without closing your heart to the world. It's a narrow line to walk, staying generous while remaining wise, but it is the only way to maintain your power in this season. Helping someone is not the same as giving them access to your private sanctuary. Supporting a friend is not the same as surrendering your spiritual tools. You have to realize that love without boundaries isn't actually love, it's self-betrayal. Many of you are conditioned from a young age to believe that saying no is a sign of pride or coldness. You are told that being spiritual means being a doormat for everyone else's needs. But discernment is actually intelligence applied to compassion. It is the awareness that not every request for your time, your things, or your energy is a divine appointment. Some requests are simply distractions designed to fragment your focus and leave you feeling diluted. When you give without discernment, you don't become more holy. You just become more scattered. You start to feel like pieces of your soul are left behind in places they were never meant to be. This is why you must learn to be generous but never careless. Carelessness is not the same as innocence. It's vulnerability without wisdom. Wisdom knows that sacred things lose their potency when they are treated as common. You can listen to someone's problems without absorbing their pain into your own body. You can support someone's journey without letting them wear your armor. The moment you stop feeling the need to explain or justify your boundaries to others is the moment you truly step into your authority. Protecting your energy, your faith, your rest, and your physical body is a spiritual responsibility tied to your calling. When you guard what is sacred, you don't become smaller or less than. You actually become clearer and more potent. Your yes begins to carry more weight because people know that your no is a real boundary. Your presence becomes stronger because your energy is no longer being leaked through 1,000 tiny holes. Those who are truly meant to walk with you will respect your boundaries instinctively, while those who are only there to consume your light will fall away. Discernment simplifies your life by removing the confusion that comes from unnecessary spiritual mixture. Every time you choose to guard what matters, you are sending a signal to the unseen realm. You are declaring that you understand the value of what has been entrusted to you, and that you will not allow it to be mishandled. This declaration changes the way the world responds to you. It changes what is allowed to linger in your space and what is forced to leave. It sets a new standard for your life. You are moving from a place of being reactive, always trying to fix the problems caused by open doors, to a place of being proactive, where you prevent the interference before it even begins. This is what it means to walk in true spiritual authority. Chosen one, I want you to hear this final truth clearly. What is just an object, for most people, can become a spiritual bridge for you. This isn't because you are fragile, but because you are open. And as you now know, openness without awareness is simply exposure. Your peace is the most valuable currency you have. Your energy is the fuel for your purpose. Neither of these things is random or accidental. Your life carries a weight and a consequence that others may never understand, and that is okay. You aren't called to be like everyone else. You are called to be aligned with the one who chose you. From this day forward, you are moving with a sharper sense of clarity. Discernment is no longer something you do occasionally. It is now a part of how you move through the world. You are realizing that not everything should be shared, and not everyone deserves a seat at your table, or a place in your bed, or a hand on your sacred tools. This isn't withdrawal, it's elevation. As you stabilize your inner world, your outer impact will naturally grow. If this message has touched a part of you that you couldn't quite name until now, it's because this revelation was timed for your current breakthrough. You are being prepared for a higher level of operation, and you can't take the static of your past seasons into your new future. Today is the day you reclaim your authority over your space. You are deciding right now what is allowed to enter your atmosphere and what is allowed to stay close to your heart. You were chosen to be conscious, not careless. If you feel this truth settling into your spirit, I want you to go to the comments one last time and type this phrase, "I guard what is sacred." Let this be a seal on this message. Let it be a marker in the spirit that you are no longer a victim of subtle leaks. Share this with one person who you know is carrying a heavy calling, but is currently struggling with unexplained exhaustion. Remember, chosen ones don't usually lose their power in one big explosion. They leak it away slowly when they forget how much they are truly worth. Today, that leaking stops. You are whole, you are protected, and you are moving with divine purpose. Guard what is sacred. Walk with absolute clarity. Stay awake to the subtle shifts, and trust the discernment that has been placed within you. Your best days are not just ahead of you. They are being built right now through the wisdom of your boundaries. Would you like me to expand on how to spiritually cleanse your home or personal items that may have already been affected?